23-year-old Edward Leon Guerrero is currently a University of Guam student majoring in Micronesian studies. He says the desire to learn the language came to be when he became more aware of the region, the Marianas, and its history, and taking a Chamorro class at the university. Edward would use this opportunity to converse with his grandmother, who was bedridden.
I would ask her, stuff in Chamorro, like, oh, how do you say this in Chamorro? How do you say this in Chamorro? But there was one moment that still shakes me to this day, that shakes me to the core. That was when I just, for example, just asked, as I usually do, what does this word mean in Chamorro? And something happened, she stared at me for about 1 entire minute of pure silence, just staring. And then she spoke these words that I will never forget till this day. It's like, my son, my grandson, I'm sorry, I don't remember Chamorro, and that really shook me because it made me realize that, if you don't keep on using the language, that it's going to go away.
Determined to learn his language, he attributes much of his growth to the following.
His name was Donald Topman. He had these books called Chamorro Reference Grammar and Learning Chamorro. And I would say that until I found those 2 books, that my Chamorro was just staying stagnant. Because, I would go up to, my aunties, I would go up to my grandma, and I would be like, hey, how come when you say this in Chamorro, it means this, but then when you change this word, it changes the entire meaning.
He also says listening to Chamorro music played a huge part in him learning the language, not only hearing the pronunciation, but having that emotional connection.
When I listen to a Casey de Leon Guerrero song or a JJ Concepcion song, when I hear these words, I'm like, I want to know what they are saying. So I would constantly, replay.
He credits his grandma Eclavea, who would help him with translating certain words from the songs.
And also, just not being afraid to speak Chamorro to whoever it is, whether it's a random stranger, whether it's whether it's a worker at a coffee shop or anyone. I had that mentality that I shouldn't be afraid to speak Chamorro. I shouldn't be afraid of making a mistake because it's a process. While yes, I may say it wrong, or yes, it may not be, I may not have the right pronunciation. What I do have is that I must keep continuing on. I must keep practicing.
He thought to himself, what could he do as an individual to help others learn about the Chamorro language? He recalled when he was 15 and wanted to learn Japanese, and he would look for tutorials and lessons on YouTube. So he created a page on YouTube called Pulan Speaks.
I need to feel that space to provide people a means to learn Chamorro through YouTube, practically free, completely free, and without the pressures of speaking to people in Chamorro, a fear of making a mistake, without having the pressure of of being corrected and, always constantly overthinking when you speak. Because, I went through that, so I'm like, okay, let me provide a resource which, teaches the language in a very, standard way, talking about the subject, the predicate, and so on.
He doesn't want to be part of the generation that gave up and be an active participant in watching the Chamorro language die.
Because within us lies the destiny of the Chamorro people and the Chamorro language. If we continue to struggle and fight, I will fight for this language. I will continue it. And we must never give up. We must never lose hope, never lose faith, never lose courage. That one day, when you see 2 Dikiki Napatguns speaking to each other in Chamorro, that this won't just be a surreal or a event for show, but this will be normalized, just like our grandparents' generation back in the day.
Edward adds that if there are people who feel the same way he does, he encourages them to join the struggle After all, it's more than just a language.
It's about reasserting your identity, reclaiming your identity from those who attempted for over 400 years to seize it away from you. I want to continue to perpetuate our language. One of the most unique things about every people is their language. So I will not be part of that generation to just give up. I want to continue to perpetuate our language. One of the most unique things about every people is their language. So I will not be part of that generation to just give up. Because for over 4,000 years, this language has been spoken in the Marianas. And in the span of a couple of generations, that could end. It is not only a disservice to myself and my children, but a disservice to our ancestors and our grandparents. And that is why we must continue to fight and to dream that one day our language will rise up again.